This video is not going to be fun for me. If you haven't already guessed, I'm not the biggest fan of pendulums. But you know what? That doesn't matter. The purpose of my content is to teach people how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And damn it, that's what I'm going to do. Today we're going to be talking about pendulums. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll understand why I, along with many other Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, don't like them. I'm Fairy Tale Luna, and pendulums suck! Sorry. This is Yugiology. Synchro monsters ruined the game for some players, Xyz monsters ruined the game for a lot of other players, and it's a goddamn miracle that people still play this game after pendulums were introduced. Okay, I'm over-exaggerating obviously, but there's some truth to that. Pendulums are probably the biggest mixed bag in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. People either love them or hate them. Guess which side I'm on. Pendulum monsters were introduced in 2014, a whopping 12 years after Yu-Gi-Oh! Came out in America. As you can see, pendulums are very unique looking. They appear to be split down the middle, with the bottom half being green. This is because pendulum monsters are technically half monster, half spell card. A pendulum monster isn't really a specific type of monster, as any monster could be a pendulum. There are pendulum normal monsters, pendulum effect monsters, pendulum fusion monsters, pendulum synchro monsters, and pendulum Xyz monsters. Damn, talk about hogging the glory. To use a pendulum monster, you can either normal summon it to a main monster zone, or you can use it as a spell card by placing it in one of the pendulum zones. The pendulum zones are located in the leftmost and rightmost spell and trap zones. The pendulum zones can either be used as regular spell and trap zones, or they can be reserved specifically for pendulums. Does that make sense? It shouldn't. Now, we can't go any further without addressing the following points. Pendulum scales, pendulum summoning, pendulum effects, and pendulums in the extra deck. Pendulum scales. If you look on the left side and the right side of a pendulum card, you'll notice a crystal on each side. Blue crystal on the left, red crystal on the right. Underneath these crystals is a number. This number represents the pendulum scale. As you can see, this card's pendulum scale is 1, and this card's scale is 8. Now, what are pendulum scales used for exactly? For pendulum summoning, of course. Yippee. To perform a pendulum summon, you must have a pendulum monster in each of your pendulum zones. The scales of these two pendulum monsters must be different from each other, and the pendulum monster on the left must have a lower scale than the one on the right. Once these conditions have been met, you can perform a pendulum summon. To pendulum summon, select any number of monsters from your hand, and special summon them all to the field at the same time. Wait, what? So you're telling me that if I have this card on the left side and this card on the right side, I can just dump my entire hand on the field? That's fucking ridiculous! I'm quitting this fucking game! Okay, so that's not exactly how it works. Let me explain. See, when you pendulum summon monsters, those monsters' levels have to be in between the pendulum scales. If you have a scale 1 pendulum monster on the left and a scale 8 pendulum monster on the right, the monsters that you pendulum summon have to be higher than level 1, but lower than level 8. So, if your pendulum scales are 1 and 8, you can special summon any number of monsters from your hand, whose levels range from 2 to 7. You can only do one pendulum summon during your turn, but when you do so, you're allowed to summon as many monsters as possible. This is, of course, treated as a special summon. Quick recap. Pendulum monster on the left has a low scale, pendulum monster on the right has a higher scale. The levels of the monsters in your hand fall in between these two scales. Shit them all out onto the field. Okay, now let's talk about pendulum effects. You may have noticed that pendulums have two sets of text. That's right, these bad boys have two effects. The effect on the bottom is the monster effect, and is applied when a pendulum monster is in a monster zone. The effect on top is the pendulum effect, and is applied whenever a pendulum monster is in a spell and trap zone. Basically, like I said, pendulums are half monster, half spell card. Finally, let's talk about pendulum monsters in the extra deck. You see, normally a pendulum monster would go in the main deck. However, when a pendulum monster would be sent from the field to the graveyard, guess what? it doesn't go to the graveyard. Instead, you place that Pendulum monster on top of your extra deck, face up. Then, later on, if you perform a Pendulum summon while a Pendulum monster is in your extra deck, you can special summon that Pendulum monster back to the field as part of the Pendulum summon. So basically, you can't get rid of a Pendulum monster. They always come back. Thirsty for more. Sympathetic for less. So yeah, that's how Pendulums work. Fun fact, there do exist Pendulum normal monsters, effect monsters, fusions, synchros, and Xyz monsters, but there are currently no Pendulum ritual monsters or Pendulum link monsters. I guess Pendulums don't like the color blue? Whatever. If this video was a bit confusing for you, I apologize. It's just that Pendulum monsters are so overwhelming to talk about, and there's no easy way to explain them. But I tried my best. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video because I sure as hell didn't. This video took way too damn long to script, it was a pain in the ass to record, you can probably already hear me losing my voice, but I guess it's alright. In my next video, I'll be talking about something a lot more fun than Pendulums. My second favorite monster category. Link monsters. I'm Fairy Tale Luna. I'm gonna go drink some hot tea. Goodbye. Now go to sleep. Count owls and sheep. You'll dive into deep into the land of the creep.